here we go again. Here we go again. Now I know it's on the thing here. I was just trying to see what this guy is about. I am at the point where he says he's proud of October 7th. So we know exactly what this interview with him is about. I have only watched, realistically, I've only watched the intro. And then I pretty much skipped to this because I want to see what he says about this. But then he started talking. Here's just asking him about October 7th. He says, tries to dodge it, says, we are proud of Hamas. We are proudly supporting Hamas. And then it's like, well, are you proud of what they did on October 7th? Then he says, yes. It's like, okay, we know exactly what we're dealing with. But yeah, I only care about the discussion between Elika Lebon. I think that's how I don't know, Lebon, I guess. And obviously Dave Smith. And I think the intro actually shows us more about the character of Dave Smith than I dared to say before. I thought this, but I never had kind of a concrete enough proof. I think this is concrete enough in a sense, but it is not like definitive. Let's say that. But yeah, let's.
You wanted to debate me because I'm so wrong about everything and I'm so
True.
influential, and you wanted to smack it down. It ain't gonna be you, lady.
What you're talking about here is a regime whose fundamental motto is death to Israel and death to the United States. Everybody is fully aware that the regime has always been months away.
I'm fairly certain I saw her interview either with Douglas or with Trigonometry, and I believe she lives in LA.
From developing nuclear weapons.
Just total bullshit. I do not think it's a legitimate justification for them to launch a war because they claim someone else is making nukes when they're not.
Should Donald Trump get the Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, I guess grading on the Obama curve, everybody deserves a Nobel Peace Prize.
If you're so against what Israel is doing, why are you so happy to fund this regime in its domestic and regional terror?
I know, it's crazy. It's almost like I'm opposing war across the board.
You are the most
Bro, everybody is opposing war. No one likes war, okay? Sometimes war is brought to you.
demoralized, brain-rotted idiot alive.
100%. Anyways, what I want to talk about is actually his thing here.
You wanted to debate me because I'm so wrong about everything and I'm so influential, and you wanted to smack it down. It ain't gonna be you, lady.
This statement, it ain't gonna be you, lady, he has put himself high on a pedestal. Now, I don't know the whole context, but I don't care really how personal this gets, because it gets pretty personal here, just based on the intro. When you say stuff like this, you're just your ego is so fucking inflated at this point. Right? And it's fine that his ego is inflated, but he's also letting it control him. Dave Smith has gotten to the point where even if he's proven wrong, he would not admit he's wrong because his ego is so inflated. Okay? So, yeah. I don't really care about this interview with this guy. Let's just go straight to the point.
Debate ideas with our producers said these words.
And, of course, we can do playback speed 1.5.
It has to be Dave Smith. The man has so much influence and he's so wrong on every level. The world needs to understand why every one of his points is garbage. So
First of all, I don't even think David Smith is really that influential. He's only influential because he's on Piers Morgan. Honestly, I wouldn't even know of Dave Smith if he wasn't on Piers Morgan. Right? And realistically, the only thing that really got him on the map is his debate with Douglas Murray. Okay? Douglas Murray actually put Dave Smith on the map, which is kind of funny. Nobody knew Dave Smith up until that point. You knew him kind of whatever, but he was not a figure, right? He's just this guy, friend of Joe Rogan, talks about nonsense, okay? Even if you agree with him, it was and a guy who's just like, I'm passionate about this. I kind of read tweets about it, and I'm opposing this, and this is my opinion. He went from that, okay. Then he had the debate with Douglas Murray, and now he's like on this pedestal as like a figurehead for this talking point, okay. And at this point, his ego is so inflated. I think he grew non-organically too fast, that he went from like this humble, not funny comedian. And again, I don't know if he's funny or not. I haven't heard him being funny. Let's be real. I like Joe Rogan. I don't think Joe Rogan is funny. I think Joe Rogan comedy is like extremely fucking boring. I don't know if maybe that's like what Dave Smith is about, being a boring, funny comedian. I don't know. Right? I'm more into like the Dave Chappelle's, the Chris Rocks, the Bill Burrs. Like I want like actual like, you know, state the obvious funny kind of thing, you know, and exaggerated. That's what I like, you know. These guys, I don't find them funny. But yeah, so he just became a figurehead too fast, and I think his ego is so inflated that at this point, it's like, bro, I mean, I'm sorry, bro. You're aligned with Candace Owens. I'm sorry. Like, you're fucking like, you're off the rails.
As well take the next hour off. But join me for what I think will be a fascinating discussion on an imperative subject. Elika Lebon, the Iranian-American attorney and activist, and Dave Smith, libertarian commentator and the host of...
Based on what I've seen, kinda, by skipping, he at least lets her talk, but we'll see.
Part of the problem. Let me just start, before we go any further, Elika, just with a response to my interview there with Professor Izadi in Tehran, which was actually reasonably, you know, civilized, normal, until the end, when he brazenly said he was proud of what Hamas did on October the 7th. And that...
By the way, almost all discussions with these fanatics are civil and normal until you push them. Like it's like they are just wolves in sheep's clothing. They're like, they make normal arguments, whatever. But then you ask them, it's like, what do you believe, right? Just like, when someone can tell you something, and it might be true or whatever, and if you take them at face value, that's nice. When you understand they have an agenda, you're like, okay, how much of that was true? How much of that do you believe? And how much of that are you saying in order to force my belief system, right? To change, okay? Like, how much are you pushing your ideas on me? How much is your propaganda at play, even though you're saying some true things, right? Because everyone can say that it's like, oh, this thing is a bad thing. Cool. War is bad. Everyone can agree to that. War is bad. People die, civilians die, soldiers die, countries suffer, yada, yada, yada. Okay, war is bad. So? like, okay, yeah, war is bad. But now you're like, well, there's only war because Israel exists. It's like, wait, hold up. Now you went a bit too far. Okay, yeah, war is bad. And it's like, well, there wouldn't be war if Israel didn't exist. It's like, hold up. So what do you do with Israel now that it exists? Like, well, like, you cancel its existence and there won't be any war. First of all, this is like where like logic fucking breaks, because it's like, if Israel didn't exist, those guys were fighting amongst themselves. Like, they kill more of themselves than Israel ever could. Okay. Israel can, and again, I don't think Israel ever should do it, because I don't think the Iranian people have like done anything wrong. The vast majority of them are against their government. But Israel can literally nuke Iran and would do less damage than what the Arab world is doing to itself on like a regular basis.
At that point, I realized he was a complete lunatic. But what did you feel listening to it?
Uh-huh.
I'm glad the world's finally realizing what we've been knowing for the past 46 years. But ultimately, you know, you just have to look at their talking points and realize the ridiculous hypocrisy of it. Wasn't his whole thing that Palestinians have been oppressed and therefore it is their moral obligation and everyone's moral obligation to attack Israel? Well, by that same logic, what they're doing to Iranian people, lynching them, torturing them, blinding them, then by that logic, the entire world should be bombing Iran right now. So
by the way, every country, like, oppression is a comparison game, right? Every country has oppressed people. The whole world has an oppressed class and like a superior class, right? Not in terms of like superior, they have more rights, but in terms of just like superior, like a big business oppresses a small business. The small business owner is oppressed. You know, shit like that. Or it's just like this whole argument of oppression and shit is just like, I mean, I don't know, it's so fucking stupid. Like everybody can be oppressed and empowered at the same time.
How can you speak out of both sides of your mouth saying that this type of oppression justifies not just military intervention, but terrorism? But you don't think anything should happen to you while you're doing this to your own people. And that's how you know it's a bluff. That's how you know it was never about Palestinian people. It was never about oppression. These are not people who care about oppression. These are the enforcers of oppression who weaponize oppression in order to gain legitimacy in their attacks on Israel.
I would even add to that, they're not weaponizing oppression. They're weaponizing the sympathy of the good people in the West. Okay? People in the West do not understand. It's like, watch American Psycho, okay? Right? Just watch psychos. Go to a prison, talk to psychopaths, okay? You can relate, you would have, if you talk to a psychopath, you would see more similarities between the psychopath and somebody in the Iranian regime than you would see with a psychopath and pretty much anyone who lives in the States. Okay? Like, you do not understand the mentality of these people. These people, Iranian regime, took children who were not fit or old enough to hold a weapon and they used them as minesweepers. Okay? They do, like, for them, human lives is a numbers game. It's a resource. It has nothing to do with morality, nothing to do with values for life, none of that. You want, like, rights, human rights? Bro, what? Like, there's no such thing as human rights for them, okay? They have our rights because we're the leaders, and everyone else is, like, you know, peasants. Like, just fucking, you know, just use them as a tool, right? These guys are not, like, you can't attribute Western values to these people, okay? And they're abusing, not abusing, but like, they're using the Western people's moral values, like this fucking idiot, okay, Dave Smith, who has, like, moral superiority, okay? And he's trying to apply his moral superiority to a location that literally lacks morals. Like, trying to use your body's functions of breathing air, right? Like, you're oxidating your body in outer space where there's no oxygen. That's, like, what he's trying to do. Like, fucking using morals on immoral people.
Dave, we're going to come to the main debate in a few moments, but just your reaction to that interview with Professor Izadi. Because, like I say, it was like a game of two halves, right? Where for most of it, he seemed perfectly reasonable, really, albeit it wouldn't be arguments I would put forward or agree with, but I could understand where he was coming from, and he seemed quite reasonable.
And funny enough, you're saying it's like, oh, he seems kind of well reasonable until the moment where he was fucking proven to be a fucking lunatic. Literally what Dave Smith is, okay? This is literally what Dave Smith is, okay? Maybe not to that extreme. Maybe he's like somebody who can say October 7th was bad. However, we can justify it because Israeli oppression shit. And I don't think that was ever his point. I think his point was only past October 7th, not so much before. But maybe I'm like, I try to, like, not dwell too much on Dave Smith. He's like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, I feel like my IQ is dropping.
And then right at the end,
and there's not much IQ left. Okay.
Somebody just to, on camera, say they were proud of what Hamas did on October the 7th. What was your reaction to that?
Very similar to yours. I thought there were a lot of reasonable things said up until that point. But of course, I think this isn't that uncommon. Regimes and supporters of regimes are often guilty of just the most outrageous hypocrisy. And you think of historical examples like Joseph Stalin used to put out propaganda about how horribly racist America was and how Jim Crow was terrible and they treated the black people so terrible in the United States of America, which, like, it was true, but what a hypocrite for Joseph Stalin to be pretending like he was concerned with human rights as he, oversaw the gulags and stuff like that. And so I think, listen, the claim that Hamas and Hezbollah have never engaged in terrorism is just ridiculous and stupid. And, but then again, I would say, I also think the claim that the IDF has never engaged in terrorism is kind of equally ridiculous. And so, it is, in a sense, the hypocrisy of all of the regimes allows somebody like that to point out your hypocrisy.
The unlawful use of violence and intimidation. I think intimidation is really, like, what terrorism stands for: terror, intimidation, especially against civilians in the pursuit of political aims. So in what way has Israel committed terrorism? Their intention is never to intimidate civilians.
To say, oh yeah, Pierce, well, you're criticizing Iran, saying that they're a state sponsor of terrorism as a citizen of a government that is sponsoring Israel's destruction of Gaza. And so again, there's awful, all of this is just horrible, and there's awful hypocrisy all around. I think there were some fair points that he made in there, but yeah, I mean, listen, October 7th, and like, even if you want to go with
for example, I'll go back a bit. For example, because it's like, I'm sure, like, most people probably don't reach very far, but they reach maybe like the 20 minutes and they'll be like, what do you mean? Israel is performing terrorism right now in Gaza. Okay. Act of terrorism, for example. Why blowing up a bus is an act of terrorism in like, in a populated area versus like, blowing up a military base. Why is that not terrorism? Both can technically create fear in the populace, right? The intention is very different. You blow up a bus so people will be afraid to live their lives. Like, they're afraid to go on a bus. You are leaving, what do you call it? We call it Chefetz Chashud in Israel, but it's like a suspicious package, right? You leave suspicious packages everywhere and they blow up, right? And then, like, you create this fear where when I was growing up in Israel, if a grandma left her shopping bag for like more than a minute, like let's say like she was sitting on a bench, she bought something, whatever, and then she got up and she forgot the bag, right? Within a minute or two, somebody calls the police. Hey, there's a bag here. We don't know who it belongs to. Nobody seems to want to claim it. There's nobody near it. Everybody fucking evacuates the area within like 50 meters at least. I don't remember the exact numbers, right? Police comes and they blow up the package. Okay? That is terrorism. That's what terrorism does. Attacking a military base shouldn't really impact the normal daily life of civilians. Okay, you might be like, oh man, like there's gonna be war and yada yada yada, right? But you're not afraid to go about your daily life, right? Because you are not the target here, right? Terrorism literally means you are the target. Okay, like you are what they're going to be attacking. Okay, that's the difference. So, in what way is Israel committing terrorism? Right? Now, if it is proven that Israel is attacking civilian houses, right, that have nothing to do with any military claim, right? Like there's no tunnels under this. There are no terrorists hiding in this place, in this city where all these houses are. There are no rockets in this vicinity of these buildings, nothing, right? Then I'll be like, okay, now Israel, you can say, is committing terrorism. However, if you have multiple houses, let's say you have a block of 20 houses, 10 of them have like ammunition, right, are used as like armories, 3 of them have tunnels built underneath them. I'm sorry, there will be casualty buildings that will have to get taken down for the safety of the soldiers. Why? Because you clearly created, instead of like a city with, or like a block with 20 buildings, you created 10 military bases, right? And 10 diversions. That's literally what you created. So, I'm sorry, that's not an act of terrorism.
And so again, there's awful, all of this is just horrible, and there's awful hypocrisy all around. I think there were some fair points that he made in there, but yeah, I mean, listen, October 7th, and even if you want to go with the idea that there was friendly fire or even some type of like Hannibal directive issued, there's been people who have done deep dives into this, and there is some evidence that some people died that way, but there's just no question that Hamas crossed the border and killed a lot of innocent people. And as I've been saying to you since I've been on your show, Piers, I just think it's horrible when people downplay that, and it does nothing.
I love that he's saying this now. Listen to this part again.
Dives into this, and there is some evidence that some people died that way, but there's just no question that Hamas crossed the borders, and there's awful hypocrisy all around. I think there were some fair points that he made in there, but yeah, I mean, listen, October 7th, and even if you want to go with the idea that there was friendly fire or even some type of like Hannibal directive issued, there's
which, by the way, he's saying it as if it's like, well, if you want to believe it, that's fine. It's like, you believe it. You are the one who believes it. You're currently talking as if like in third person, defending yourself. Like, maybe there was friendly fire, maybe there was Hannibal Directive. You know, like, if you want to believe it, like, I understand. It's like, of course you understand. You believe it, right? You are one of those people who believes it. And technically, there was friendly fire. Hannibal Directive, however, has been disproven.
Been people have done deep dives
And
into
in my opinion, I am a supporter of Hannibal Directive. That's not.
and there is some evidence that some people died that way, but there's just no question that Hamas crossed the border and killed a lot of innocent people. And as I've been saying to you since I've been on your show, Piers, I just think it's horrible when people downplay that, and it does nothing but undercut their.
Yeah, I agree. I
own
mean, if all you do is focus purely on the GoPro footage that Hamas broadcast to the world, if that's all you do, you see exactly the horror that they perpetrated. All right, Elika, you wanted to come on, but specifically with Dave Smith, you think he's wrong about absolutely everything. So just outline your main complaints about.
I'm not going to say he's wrong about everything. I think he's wrong for applying morals, and I think vast majority of his arguments are emotional. I think not wanting US to get into this war, I think, is a fair argument. That's, like, in my opinion, if you don't feel like, if the US decides this is not a war that we should be partaking in, that is a completely valid argument. I think the US should do its own math of which wars to engage in, how to engage. In my opinion, I think this is a good war for America because it's a low effort, easy win, high return on investment type of war. In terms of just like those gains versus like risk of like problems, in my opinion, this is a good war for the US, right? In terms of like, we just don't want war, I'm sorry, war is gonna come to your shore even if you want to like separate yourself from everyone else, okay? War will come, okay? It is your duty as the US, right? Not as the citizen. I understand the citizen's position, but it's your duty as the US to make sure that war never comes to your shore or prevent it for as long as you can, okay? That a nuke is not, a secret nuke is not being manufactured in Iran and shot at the US, okay? In my opinion, Iran is, if Iran gets a nuke, it is more likely to shoot it at the US than it is at Israel. Okay? Like, realistically, it is more likely.
Dave Smith.
I don't have an outline, but I think I can just go off of everything that he says. You know, in this example, you correctly pointed out what the Soviet Union was doing. You correctly pointed out that they would use these kernel of truths as part of their disinformation campaigns. But the question is, what were their disinformation campaigns rooted in? Well, we know what the entire, communist agenda was, and that was demoralization of the West in order to sort of gain this traction internally within the West so that they would overthrow their own government. So the whole point of Soviet disinformation and ideological subversion was to convince people that the West and Israel was the source of all evil in the world. All of the KGB defectors have said the same thing. Yuri Bezmenov, Mikhail Pachepa. But the way they talk about how this is achieved, they talk about demoralization. And demoralization is the point where you can no longer tell truth from fiction. You can no longer tell right from wrong. And what happens when you reach that stage? You start making moral equivalencies between liberal democracies and terrorists and autocrats. So when you say there, yes, I do see that the Islamic Republic are terrorists, but I don't see how other liberal democracies are not terrorists as well. That is exactly the ideological subversion, which you correctly identified, but don't see how it's a part of your own talking points.
Dave?
No, that's just a talking point yourself there. I mean, it's just not true. I know that the defenders of Israel often like to use this term moral equivalency, but it's just made up and doesn't apply to what I'm saying at all. I mean, if I were to say that I in no way ever said that the society of Iran is identical to the society of Israel, or that the people or the citizens of that country both enjoy the same amount of liberty.
That's not at all what she said. That's not at all what she said. Not even, like, what are you even... Oh my God.
I've never said there are massive differences. I would say that American society, certainly within America, was far superior to Iraqi society under Saddam Hussein. But you can say that and also say that George W. Bush launched an illegal war in Iraq. These things aren't contradictory at all. And so what I'm talking about is, let me finish. What I'm talking about here is that the IDF is committing acts of terrorism. And so you can...
Here's where the moral equivalency comes into play. I can also say the war in Iraq was, an illegal war. You can say that. However, it was still not as bad as if you just went and bombed Iraq for no reason, like just like fucking bomb. Okay, just fucking like erase it, like just fucking troops, just fucking bomb the place, flatten it. I don't want to see. I want everything to be like fucking perfectly lined up, flat. Okay? There is a difference here between the two, okay? Like, again, yeah, the war, not a good thing. The justification for the war were kind of like phony, okay? However, there is a difference in the approach. Okay, like they're not the same.
Say it doesn't count when a government does it, but there's no objective moral standard to that. So I'm not making an equivalency between anything. I'm just pointing out that these two groups both have committed terrorism. And so in the same sense that you could point out how two people have both committed the same crime, that is not the same as saying those two people are identical in every way.
So when you... Yeah, so you are drawing these moral equivalencies, and you're doing exactly that. You're saying, I'm just saying, how is the IDF different to Hamas? How is the IDF different to the Islamic Republic?
I didn't say that. No, you're saying that.
No, you just said it. You literally just said it. Just because these guys commit terrorism doesn't mean that the IDF didn't commit terrorism. So it's like, so you're saying the IDF committed terrorist attacks that are of the equivalent. Because like when you use the same word, you're using like it's the same definition. Okay, if you're saying that's like Israel committed terrorist attacks, you are literally equating it to the same terrorist attacks that Hamas committed.
There are, I could list off right now. Hold on. Because you're starting with completely strawmanning my position. So let's just, before you just argue, hold on. So before you argue with what you made up, instead of arguing with what I'm saying, I could name 1,000 differences between Hamas and the IDF. I'm not saying there's no difference between them.
Clarify what you're saying.
I don't think it could be any clearer. I'm saying they both commit horrific acts.
No. You just said terrorist acts, not horrific acts. You just said terrorist acts. And again, horrific is a spectrum. Bad is a spectrum. There's no equivalency between the like. Oh my god! Like I don't know, man. Like, is he really that stupid to not understand the distinction? Like a second ago, you just said they both commit terrorism. Now you said they both commit horrific acts. So are they committing terrorist acts or horrific acts? Fucking words matter.
You have said now, and you've said online on Twitter when you were debating people, you asked this exact question, which is exactly what a demoralized person would ask. How is this different to that? How is Israel doing this different to that? Now, let me just start by saying,
this is like a basic IQ test. I could say, how is this act different from this act? That's not saying how is this entity identical to this other entity. The point is that targeting innocent. Sure.
It's exactly like saying, how is it different between a cop and a robber when they're both pointing guns at each other and they're both making each other feel threatened? Isn't that the exact same thing? Yes, sure, it is the exact same act, but it is a different motivation. Okay, that's what the difference is. Because when you have a regime like the Islamic Republic or Hamas, that's literal inception and existence is based on the destruction of Israel and death to America, and basically just killing everybody who disagrees with their ideology.
I love that she needed to dumb it down so much to cop and robber analogy. For, like, hopefully he will understand.
And another entity whose focus is on protecting its people, yes, the actions may look the same. And in fact, the actions may be just as wrong as each other. They may be just as brutal and terroristic as each other, but the motivation is different. And to be demoralized means to not understand that.
Hang on a second. All right, let me jump in there, because actually, what difference does it make to the innocent civilians who are...
It doesn't make a difference.
Well, hang on. What difference does it make to innocent civilians who are killed? Whether one...
Like, who... Like, that's not the argument. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. Oh my god, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, well, yeah, if I die, I die. Like, it doesn't matter if it was an Israeli bomb that killed me or an Iranian bomb that killed me. For me, it doesn't matter how I died. Yeah, no shit, that's not the fucking argument. We're talking about the legality. We're talking about the, like, is it as evil, right? Everything that is, like, you have, like, this is why you have degrees of murder, right? You have murder in first degree, second degree, third degree, then you have manslaughter, right? They all result in the same thing. The person that is that was the victim is dead. For that person who died, he doesn't care if you killed him in the first degree, in the second degree, in the third degree, if it was manslaughter, like, you know, if it was like, you know, he just died because he died, right? Like, it was his time. Like, it doesn't matter. For him, for the civilian, he died. It doesn't, like, you think, like, I care about your motivation for killing me? Like, oh yeah, I understand. I understand. You have to kill me. Like, you know, like somebody threatened you, and you know, they took your kids. I understand. You have to kill me, dude. I'm about to die. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck why you're killing me. I don't want you to kill me. Like, it's like, who cares?
One has a better, you know, motivation for doing it. Because my problem with what Israel's doing in Gaza is that in direct contrast to what it did in Lebanon with Hezbollah, in direct contrast to what it did in Iran, both very precise, very targeted, very successful operations, minimal civilian casualties. In Gaza, in Gaza, the strategy has been completely different. It's been a strategy of sort of nihilism.
The war is completely different. The war fucking landscape is completely different. You have to adjust to the circumstance. How do you do a precision, a targeted kill, a precision fucking kill? on somebody who's hiding in a room with 10 children versus somebody who's walking down the street at night alone. The fucking scenario is different. Oh, how come this is not the same? It's not the same scenario.
Well, they just destroy everything in Gaza. Almost every hospital.
How come this soccer player has to go through 5 players to score a goal, and this one who's playing on his own has to goes straight to the goal? Like, he doesn't have to do anything, he just fucking runs forward. How come it's not the same?
Hospital is either now, well, hang on, let me finish, is either destroyed or damaged in some way. We know this actually because we have to listen to British doctors who've come out and told everybody what is actually going on there, because of course international journalists are still banned by the IDF, even though they were allowed in previous conflicts in Gaza. They're not allowed in to verify anything in this one, which I find very suspicious. But here's my point, Elika. I defended Israel.
Yeah, because previous assaults were in and outs. This is a full-on war where they cannot guarantee at all the survival rate. Like, honestly, if the reporters, in my opinion, Israel should let the reporters in. However, the reporters have to sign a waiver, and they have to make a video saying that they signed this waiver that says, if I die in this war, this is not on Israel. And then they can go in, and within 2 days they'll probably die. This is an active war, bro. The next target can, also, by the way, they can't inform the reporters where their next target would be, okay? If they have to go from target to target to target to target, it's not like we have this one target, everything else is safe. Right now, nothing in Gaza is safe. There's no safe space, realistically, in Gaza, right? They might be, have, intel suddenly, hey, there's a terrorist in this location. Well, there's reporters there. It's fuck the reporters. There's a terrorist. We have a chance to take him. We take him. It's not, and we gotta tell the reporters.
Israel's right to defend itself after October the 7th, not least because the Hamas spokesman went public almost immediately and said, we want to keep doing this. So I completely understand Israel's not just a need or a right, but a duty to defend its people. However, what we've seen in the last few months was a 3-month blockade of starvation of already war-torn, impoverished.
Been over this. Yeah, they have received food. When this first brought up, starvation. 3 months into an 8-month supply of food, they were suddenly starving. Where'd that food go? They're burning the food?
People. And then this constant bombardment, including in the last 6 weeks, endless bombardments of people who are desperately lining up to get food. Now, they are dying, it seems very mysteriously. The IDF says we shot in the air as warnings. Sometimes they use other language, which means they may have shot towards people they saw as a threat, or they are.
I hate this fucking argument so much, so stupid. Okay, so you have, this is IDF. Okay, let's make it green. Okay. This is where the food is. Let's say there's a few kilometers here. This is where the food is. Okay. All right. Now you have people coming. Let's say they're coming from here. Okay, they're coming from here to grab food. Okay. Meanwhile, you have some suspicious people who are going this way. Okay. Jesus. I can draw. Suspicious people who are going this way. Okay. Now Israel would be shooting at these people, which is within last report that I saw was half a kilometer away. Okay. While also these people, these people are also shooting at these guys, but they're not shooting here. They're actually shooting these guys only. Okay, they're shooting these guys, right? Whoever is here, they're shooting them. Why? So they don't get the food. Okay, so these guys, which by the way, they can be coming from multiple directions, right? They can come from here. They can come from here, whatever, right? Whatever. There's a line up here, okay? most of them are located. Where's the thing? Nope, not that. Most of them are located in this area, okay? This is where most of the people are gathered to get food, okay? These assholes are shooting towards these guys, towards these guys, towards these guys. Israel, meanwhile, is shooting towards these guys, okay? And then it is reported that Israel is shooting people who are trying to get food. Even though these guys, right, these people have come out and said that no, Israel was not shooting at us. They were shooting near us, pretty far away. 500 meters is pretty far away to be shot at, okay? Like, this is like quite the miss, okay? And the ones who were shooting them were these fuckers, okay? These guys who were getting food were saying that these guys, the red guys, were shooting them, while Israel was shooting the red guys. Meanwhile, somehow Israel is at fault here.
I'm now investigating what happened. I read out earlier in a previous debate about this, all the different times this has happened in the last 6 weeks. It's endless. And the idea that the IDF are not killing people in this way, when everybody else involved says they are, is ridiculous. So the point I think Dave is making, quite straightforwardly, is that what the IDF's been doing in the last 3 months, to me, crosses any line of self-defense and could absolutely...
By the way, the IDF doesn't need to bait them with food in order to shoot them. If anything, that is a waste of resources. Also, in a crowd of thousands of people trying to get food, IDF only managed to kill 7? Like, let's say like the IDF was the one shooting. 7 in a crowd of thousands of people trying to get food. There's like a ton of people. You're telling me they couldn't just like shoot one rocket and kill all of them? What is the purpose here? Like, just think about from like, okay, let's say this is happening. Why? Oh, they just want to like kill some. If they want to, they could have just killed them all. Oh, well, this looks less intentional. But why would they even do it if they want, like, there's no purpose in them doing this if they want to look less intentional. The only reason for them to do this is to make it look intentional. Is to tell, like, the people of Gaza, like, you're fucked. Okay? Then, like, why even do that? Like, don't even give them food. And they'll be fucked already. There's absolutely zero reason that you can logically conclude that Israel is putting food as bait to hunt civilians. This is zero benefit to Israel in any capacity.
Absolutely be categorized as terrorizing the innocent people of Gaza. Now, it doesn't mean they're not in their heads going, they're going after Hamas. Their motivation is, we want to kill the bad guys. But they have lost all sense of proportion, and they are now behaving in a way that if other people were doing it to them, they would categorize as terrorism.
Okay, so let me just answer you in 2 points. First of all, let me ask you this question. If Hamas was entirely separated from the civilian population, let's say it was totally down north and everyone else, up north and everyone else was down south, do you think that we'd see these civilian casualties?
No enemy in modern warfare has ever been entirely separated from civilian populations. It's for the birds. It doesn't happen. My brother and my brother-in-law were both army colonels, right? It's for the birds. This idea you get some clean war where civilians are nowhere near any of it. It doesn't really happen ever.
Yes, it does happen because you just used the example of Iran. You saw.
Give me an example where no civilians have been killed in modern warfare.
Not no civilians, it's the amount of civilians. Right. And it is the fact that Hamas, it doesn't just embed itself, it embeds...
But there are as many civilians in Lebanon. In fact, there are more civilians in Lebanon than there are in Gaza. How was it that Mossad was able to target 3,000 members of Hezbollah with a pager device that exploded? But in Gaza, the only way to deal with it, apparently, same situation...
A plan that took like 8 years to work now is the standard. Please make this make sense. How did Israel make use of the pagers and blow them up only for Hamas terrorists in Lebanon, but they can't do it for Gaza? Enemies learn, like people learn, like, oh hey, like, you know, okay, like they set this up. It's like, we're not gonna use pagers anymore. Okay, we're gonna use trusted sources, and we're gonna inspect each and every fucking item that we get. Okay, and also. Coincidental. Israel targeted multiple pagers, multiple companies, multiple pager, manufacturers. Okay, not manufacturers, but like the versions, whatever, right? Like multiple devices, like not just the one device. Okay, This one just like, okay, they're getting this one. Okay, let's wait. Boom, then blow it up. But how did they manage to do this? But they can't do the same in Gaza, bro. Like, think before you ask these questions. Oh my God, the standard is not what happened with the pagers. Okay.
In Lebanon, Hezbollah live among civilians. The only way they can apparently do it in Gaza is to obliterate Gaza and kill tens of thousands of civilians as they go after Hamas. I don't understand the difference.
Okay, let me answer.
Okay, first of all, if October 7th didn't happen, maybe there was a plan in place. Maybe look, dude, look how smug this is. Like, oh yeah, answer that, lady. The dumbest fucking question in the world. Oh my fucking God. No fucking critical thought here. We got her. Mm-hmm. We got her. Oh yeah. With the dumbest fucking question, we fucking got her. Okay? Maybe there was a plan in place to target Hamas specifically without destroying all of Gaza. But you know what? Maybe this plan was supposed to happen in like a couple years after, like without October 7 happening. God, look at this smug fucking face as if like, Piers owned you. This is the dumbest fucking questions one of the dumbest, probably not dumbest. One of the dumbest questions I've heard by Piers.
The question, and then you'll understand. What you're doing right now is you're not just legitimizing Hamas's strategy, you are encouraging it.
No,
because the whole...
When did I encourage it?
Okay, let me explain.
And you know people are listening to this, right? I mean, they know what I said.
Yes, and what you said is fucking retarded.
If you let me finish my sentence, and then at the end of it, you can tell me if you agree. Should we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay. When Hamas intentionally embeds itself among civilian populations, the whole point of that strategy is that there'll be so much civilian casualties that the world will look at Israel and say, what an abhorrent pariah state that has lost all legitimacy. Okay, so let me finish. So every time the world does that, every time the world reacts in that way, it reinforces Hamas's behavior because it tells them this works. So in this moment that you're saying this, you are encouraging Hamas to
we shouldn't talk about the 50, 60, 70,000 civilians, or however many. We don't actually know how many have been killed. We know we believe 70,000 have been killed, of which perhaps 25 to 30,000 are Hamas. We don't know because no one can ever give me actual figures.
You should talk about it, and you should frame it within the context of look how much destruction there is when terrorists embed themselves in civilian populations.
Right, Dave, let me get Dave to respond.
Yeah, it's I agree that terrorists shouldn't embed themselves in civil population. When I talk about I blame the attacker that is attacking the terrorists that embed themselves in civil population, I'm never blaming the terrorists for embedding themselves in civil population. Because it's like one thing, or I'm blaming both because, oh yeah, it is bad to embed yourself in civil population. And it is bad to attack terrorists that are embedded in civil population. Do you really think Hamas cares if you think what they're doing is good or bad? The only ones who cares are the ones who have morals, aka Israel, okay, in this case. So, the only one you're affecting by saying this, which by the way, you should say it, you should frame it as she said, it's like this is what happens when you embed yourself in civilian population. So the civilians never allow terrorists to embed themselves in their population. Otherwise, the civilians will be the ones to suffer. But these guys... so fucking stupid. I don't think I can make it to the next point. Oh my God.
Let me get Dave to respond.
Listen, this is just, we should talk about it, but only in the framework that it's not the fault of the people who are dropping the bombs on the innocent people or shooting the people who are the ones. Hey, you know what? You just asked, excuse me, you just had your whole thing about let you finish and then you can respond to that. So
Yep. Now first of all, you're misrepresenting what she said. She said you should talk about, but you have to add the context of talking about it because Dave is only talking about from one context of Israel bad.
You strawmanned me, and you stopped me when you were being strawmanned.
You opened by saying that Piers. You got interrupted when you said Piers was running cover for Hamas by pointing out that Israel was going too far. Quiet. Let me. No, you didn't. Your point. Listen.
All right, don't talk over each other. Let Dave respond, and then you respond to him.
I listened to the garbage.
Let him respond, then you reply.
Let me get in now.
Okay.
All right, but stop talking.
Lady, let me just save you all the time in this debate. You wanted to debate me because I'm so wrong about everything and I'm so influential, and you wanted to smack it down.
Yeah, and so far, though, she don't debate Piers realistically.
Going to be you, lady. You're not the one who's going to stop me. This is just ridiculous.
Nobody's going to stop you. Fucking freedom of speech, bro. Oh my God, so smug and so stupid.
Okay, I'll tell you whatever. Oh, okay, good one. Oh yeah, you really smacked down my bad ideas. Anyway, Piers, again, all they have.
You're too stupid to realize how bad your ideas are.
There you go. That's the argument you got. Anyway, can I talk now?
She's right.
So Piers, as always, it's just the same thing on repeat here, right? So the defense is to go, but
yes, because you don't fucking understand simple fucking logic.
motivation of Israel is pure. The motivation of everybody else is
Nobody said that. Oh my God, man.
evil. Even though obviously what Israel is doing is objectively torturing women and children to death as they die with their bones crushed under rubble. But also, Piers, don't let it mess with you that at the highest levels of the Israeli government, they've kind of told you what their motivations are here. I mean, the South African case that they brought to the International Court of Justice was like 90% just direct quotes from Israeli leaders. The prime minister himself referred to them as Amalek when talking to the military. You got the finance minister, the defense minister bragging about how nobody's getting any food for a 3-month period, bragging that not 1 ounce of grain will get into Gaza. I mean, I'm sorry, this is obviously terrorism. It borders on genocide. It's horrifically wrong. And for you to use your example of saying like, oh, this is what I'm saying is that a guy who robs a store and a cop who comes to stop them are committing the same acts because they're pointing a gun at each other. Yeah, but of course in that example, right. But in that, no, that's what you said. That's what you said about my point. And it was really dumb because in that example, there aren't innocent people being slaughtered. Yeah,
and
kind of
is. It would still be different. Okay, so
let me ask you a question, which is this. Are you comfortable with everything that Israel's done in the last 3 months?
No, I've always said that there should be dual criticism, and that's exactly what my problem has been this whole time. Everybody's criticizing Israel, which is fair, but why isn't anybody criticizing the reason why Gaza looks like this? Because Hamas has decided to embed itself.
They are, though. I mean, I couldn't have been more critical of Hamas going back 20 months. I mean, I still am now. I think they're a despicable terror group. Well, they're a despicable terror group who committing one of the worst terror attacks of modern times. I mean,
your earpiece maybe wasn't working for the whole first 5 minutes of this, where me and Piers both agreed that the previous guest was ridiculous to downplay Hamas's crimes.
That's not the... Oh my God, why? He's so condescending while being so fucking stupid. It's like an idiot calling you an idiot when you're smarter than him. There are levels, okay? Agreeing that October 7 was bad is not the same as saying that it's like the reason that civilians are dying is because Hamas is embedding itself in civilian population, which is not something Dave Smith says. Okay, Dave Smith practically never says the reason the civilians are dying is because Hamas is inside of civilian population, is because there's like, you know, fucking military equipment inside of houses, is because there's a fucking armory stashed under a little child's bed. It's because Hamas built tunnels under hospitals, okay, and uses hospitals as this. Because every time Israel would attack a hospital, they would be like, Israel just committed a war crime, they attacked the hospital. Meanwhile, not caring at all about the reasons. So, and talking about only from the perspective of Israel is evil for attacking hospital, not Hamas is evil for placing the, what's it called, the ammunition and like the fucking rockets in the hospital and forcing Israel to do this, even though, yes, it is bad. And I like, was there another way for Israel to do this operation without bombing a hospital? Right? Maybe question if there was another possibility rather than just like fucking bombing it, right? But like giving zero of the blame to Hamas for putting it there, for forcing Israel to act this way, is the problem with the arguments. I don't care that he hates Israel. It pisses me off that he doesn't apply any standard to Hamas. It's like, it's as if like, well, we know Hamas is bad and they do all these things, so I'm not even going to talk about because we already know. So from now on, I'm only going to focus on the fact that what Israel is doing, forgetting about the context, right? Just like, move that point to the side, okay? So it's like that point, like, we know about it, but like, you know, like, put it as a hidden object, okay? It's a hidden object for now, right? Israel's evil for doing this. Context? What context? It's evil to do this. Which is literally like the fucking analogy, like the cop and robber that she's saying.
He committed horrific acts of terrorism.
Elika.
What I was responding to, in terms of what Piers said to me, he was talking about why is it that we can do targeted military strikes in Iran, but we've decided to entirely desecrate Gaza. And my response was that, not saying that it was right, but I'm saying that when Hamas embeds itself in all of Gaza, it is going to result in ruin. And it reinforces the point that I've been making this entire time, not just since October 7th, but for the past 3 years that I've been talking about terrorist regimes, which is that they bring mass death and destruction everywhere they go.
Well, that is true. I agree with that. But I
agree with that. But I blame the ones who are causing the death and destruction. You see how stupid their fucking argument is? Like, I agree. Like, wherever there are terrorist groups, yeah, they bring death and destruction. But I blame the ones who caused the actual death and destruction due to the terrorist group being there. Makes sense. Yeah. It's a lose-lose situation. If there's a terrorist group, so basically from now on, if you're a terrorist, right? Like, here's a war tip. If you're a terrorist, just embed yourself in civilian populations. People will call you bad, but you don't care because you're a terrorist. Right? Then when they come to attack you and kill civilians, you can cry to the world saying, the injustice. They're killing civilians. Just do that. Right? And everyone will agree, oh, you guys, terrorists, you're bad. But the guys who are actually killing you and your civilians are worse.
Israel, through Mossad, have supposedly the most sophisticated, experienced intelligence operation in the world. And it was brilliantly seen with the Hezbollah pager attack. It was been brilliantly identified by the way they managed to identify where all the military leaders and nuclear scientists and nuclear sites are going to be in Iran for Israel to attack. From a purely military perspective and intelligence perspective, Israel did an extraordinary job, both with dealing with Hezbollah and the Iranian regime. However, it does just beg the obvious question. Why were they not able to foresee, in any way apparently, that Hamas were going to spend 20 years spending the billions of dollars which Netanyahu had encouraged them to have, because he believed in divide and rule with the Palestinian Authority, that they had these billions of dollars and were spending it on creating one of the world's biggest...
Everyone knew this. Dude, me as a nobody soldier knew this. What do you mean no one? Of course we knew this. We literally heard them. I was stationed like a kilometer away from the Gaza Strip. At night, when it was silent and I was on like night duty, you could hear them building shit underground. You could literally like hear from like, we had like this sewer entrance, like, you know, the ones that you lift, like where the Ninja Turtles come out of. Yeah, we had one of those, and if you like, you can stand right next to it and you hear like pickaxes. Okay? Constantly, every fucking night. Different patterns. So it's like, oh, maybe it's like something is like the same. No, it's different patterns. Like it stops, it starts, it stops. It's like different pace. Like people were digging. You knew this, right? Reported this to the officer. He's like, yeah, we know. We can't do anything about it because it's on their territory. You can hear it through like the underground tunnels, like the sound waves and shit. What did you want to do? Did you want Israel to just go and bomb them while they're doing it? You couldn't. Why? Because they're autonomous.
Biggest underground tunnel systems to operate from. And then how did Mossad not know anything about 3,000 Hamas terrorists pouring over its border when they're literally on their border and they're guarding it all day long? So I just cannot understand.
I agree that the October 7th is suspicious. Other than that, though, okay.
How this could have happened. And then I don't understand why Israel is responding in a way which it's never responded to anything like this in this way before. Why is Gaza? And then you had the Smotrich.
First of all, no precedence like this has ever happened before. 1,200 Jewish citizens dying in like a span of like 11 hours. Okay? On one day. No other location in the world has attacked Israel as consistently as the Gaza Strip, and no other location in the world has been so in a bad strategic location as Gaza is. Israel cannot just go and destroy Lebanon. Okay? It's like, it's too big, it has escape routes, you can't. It has multiple, multiple borders. Okay? Gaza has the border with Egypt, that Egypt hates them more than Israel, by the way. The border on the Egypt side is more secure than the border in Israel. Okay? Yeah, so it's fucked.
Okay. Which has never responded to anything like this in this way before. Why is Gaza? And then you had the Smotrich quotes, Annika.
Why did things escalate, bro?
Brazenly talks now last week on camera that the plan now is to cleanse Gaza of Palestinians. That is ethnic cleansing. That is a war crime.
That's obviously wrong. That's obviously
Good.
wrong.
So we need to agree certain things like that, because honestly, it's important to me. It's like when people don't condemn Hamas, I sort of tune out, because it's like, the last guy, the moment he just said he was proud of what Hamas did, I tune out of him as a credible guest. But if you're prepared to admit, which very, very few pro-Israelis right now will admit, which is that some of this strategy is completely wrong, I think we may get somewhere.
It's so foundational to acknowledge that fact. It is so foundational to say that just because you have the right to defend yourself, it doesn't mean that you have carte blanche. It is so foundational to acknowledge all of these things, to acknowledge the death, the destruction, all of it. This is not what my conversation is about. Okay. This is not about has there been damage or destruction or whatever.
By the way, there's a difference between like Dave Smith. You can criticize what these higher ups are doing. That's fine. You can criticize Bibi. You can criticize the fucking Treasury Senator, whatever he is. Right? You can criticize what they're saying. That's fine. But you're literally criticizing the weirdest things when it comes to the actual war. Like you're also criticizing that. That's fine. But it's like you're criticizing ground operations you have zero knowledge about. You only know what is shown to you, right? Which is propaganda from both ways. By the way, like, let's be real. It's propaganda from Israel. It's propaganda from there, and you have no idea what actually the fuck. Okay, you think people are starving, you don't actually know if that is the thing. Okay, like you literally do not know. Okay, facts, like look at the facts of the matter that you do know. How much food was brought into Gaza? For how long does that food last? How come they are starving? If this food is actually in Gaza, the 8 tons, whatever, that is, or 80 tons, I don't remember, right? And it is supposed to last for 8 months. How come they are starving 3 months in? Okay, like that is what you should be asking, not right away saying that's like, oh, Israel is blocking food entrance. Well, it's like, well, where is the food? How about you ask, where is the food?
The whole point of this conversation is that you're making moral equivalencies, and these moral equivalencies blur the distinction between right and wrong, good and evil. Now, you can say that, but some of these actions look like they are evil in themselves, but the entire conversation always goes down to intent. That is what our entire criminal justice system is.
But I don't agree with that. I actually don't agree. You've just said that some of...
What do you mean don't agree? Literally, you're like, the Western world is literally built on, like, the crime system is built on intent. So it's just like, how do you not agree on that? Do you think that murder in the first degree and manslaughter are the same thing?
Well, if I'm wrong, you've just said that some of the things Israel's been doing are evil, right? You've drawn your own moral equivalency. You said both sides are doing... Hang on. Both sides are doing evil things. That's surely the point Dave Smith was making.
No, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why it's different. Because there is one side...
There are evil things that could be happening. There are evil statements that could be said. Okay? That is not the same as saying that's like, Israel is evil. Every action that Israel does is evil. That is like completely different, right? It's like, oh, they bombed this place. It's like, it's evil. It's like, you don't even know. Because like, for Dave Smith right now, the context is whatever Israel does inside of Gaza, unless it's like immediate ceasefire, is evil. There's no nuance at all. There's no context to anything. It's just, this is evil because Israel did this and it's not ceasefire. They're doing something I don't want them to do, therefore it's evil. That is literally like Dave Smith right now.
That kills ideology to protect its people, and there is one side that kills people to protect its ideology. That is the difference. I'm going to give you an example so you understand the nuance of what I'm trying.
When she says something is evil, it's like, we can all agree that killing a person is evil. Okay? Taking a life is evil. Okay. What if the person you took a life of is a pedophile who, did something to, like, your son or daughter? Would that be evil to kill him? Technically, that would still be evil based on morality. But is it really evil? Is it really that evil? I don't think it's that evil. Okay? But we can all agree that killing is evil. Like that is the distinction here. When you said it's like Israel's committing evil things because war as a whole is evil. Let's be real. Israel engaging in a war in Gaza to begin with after October 7th, even if it was like right away, instantly retaliation, you can already say technically going into war is evil. Okay, what's the context?
Say. Let's say that there's a room of 100 people, okay? And in that 100 people, you're told that 10 of these people want to kill your people. Now, if you were to shoot and kill everyone in that room, that is objectively immoral and wrong. Objectively, right? But you are doing it out of protection. It's still disgusting and abhorrent and wrong. Now, let's say at the same time, you know that 10 people in that room of innocent civilians are against your ideology, and you murder the entire room to protect your ideology. Both actions are equally immoral and evil as each other, but the motivation is completely different, and you cannot make equivalencies of those motivations.
All right, Dave.
But you, in your own words, you just said that both actions are equally immoral. I mean, it sounds right.
No,
okay.
They're equal evil, but they're not equally immoral.
It sounds a lot like kind of the rationalization that your first guest was saying there, Pierce, that like, well, everybody serves in the IDF in Israel, and therefore we really just got to go after everybody because you never know who here might be one of our oppressors or something like that. It's all just ridiculous logic. And look, what is the intention of an ethnic cleansing campaign? Is that an unintended consequence as Israel is floating this out? Huh?
The difference here is that if Palestinians would leave Israel alone, Israel would leave Palestinians alone. That is the difference. Like the whole, like it's literally boils down to the argument of like if Gaza, if Hamas lay down their arms, there would be no more death. There would be no more death other than like maybe executing terrorists. Okay, if Israel lay down their arms, there is no more Israel. Gaza, even if they had no weapons to defend themselves, would still exist. Israel, if they had no weapons to defend themselves, would not exist. That is the equation here.
It's not an ethnic cleansing campaign. This is
No,
just
I'm referring-
regurgitating
no, no, no.
buzzwords. But I clearly said that.
Hold on. Listen, this is what's just so. No, I'm not regurgitating buzzwords. I'm talking about what one of the most powerful people at the absolute top of the Israeli government, their finance minister, said. Look, the people, the Palestinians in Gaza, in the West Bank, are there largely because they were ethnic.
This one guy said this. This one guy said that. Okay. What, you think he's gonna be there forever? Do you think he's actually dictating anything? Yeah, he said his opinion. Most people in Israel don't agree with him. Most people in Israel don't agree with that opinion. But we don't care about that. We just know that this one guy said that. Okay, how about this? Let's go to your Congress, okay? Let's go to the U.S. Congress. One of the most powerful people in the U.S. Congress, okay? So, one of the most powerful people in the U.S. is a U.S. congressman, okay? Are we going to just ignore the fact that so many of them hate Israel, so many of them support Hamas? That's, so many of the top people in the U.S. hate Israel and support Hamas and Palestine. Such a dumb argument.
Ethnically cleansed out of where they were living for generations before that. So no, I'm sorry. It's just what's ridiculous.
You're talking about ethnic cleanse. You're talking about the Nakba?
Yes.
Yeah, you're talking about the fact that when the war broke out against Israel, that some of the camps were exiled because some of them were collaborating with the Arabs that were engaging in the war with Israel, and others of them were not, which is why they were grandfathered.
Right. Yeah. 750,000 people were forced out of their house. Oh no, actually we are, and you don't get to just say we're not going to get into this conversation.
You're not answering the point. You're not answering the point that I've made. I clearly said in that example that I gave you that both of those
situations. First of all, you weren't even alive during the Nakba. You don't know what happened in the Nakba. However, and it's like technology during the Nakba was like non-existent in Israel. Okay? Mossad during the Nakba was like non-existent in Israel. Okay? You had a lot less way to figure out who is who and what is what in a massive time of war where you are surrounded by your enemies, and the last thing you need during that war is threats from the inside. Okay? So, sorry not sorry for taking drastic measures in a very drastic situation. Dude, this whole argument in the Nakba is like, what, you got nothing better to fucking argue right now? 80 plus years ago, some shit happened? The people who are fighting now don't know anything about what happened back then. They didn't live it. They just know stories that are biased propaganda from like their fucking parents, grandparents. Israel knows one thing about the Nakba. Palestinians know another thing about the Nakba. Such a useless argument to even have. Oh, the Nakba. 750,000 people were displaced. Yeah. Why were they displaced? Like, what was happening at that time? Why were they displaced? Oh, well, like, everyone was attacking Israel from all sides. Oh, was it like a very drastic time, like a very like traumatic time for Israel, where they couldn't afford any single like fucking mistakes? Otherwise, literally, their annihilation would ensue. Let's just say like this: if the Nakba didn't happen, right, like the 750,000 people didn't leave, right, and that caused Israel to lose the war, you would have a lot more than 750,000 people leaving the place. You would have like 2 or 3 million people dead. Slightly different equations here, okay? Look, oh, the Nakba is bad. The Nakba is bad.
Situations were completely wrong, but the motivation was different, and that is how you know. And you haven't addressed that.
No, I'm sorry. Maybe you're not getting me. Yes, I think it's completely ridiculous for you to just get to claim that the Israeli motivations are pure. I'm sorry, especially when listen, Benjamin. Okay.
Again, like why? Like you're taking her argument. Like, dude, I think this guy is the definition of strawman. He keeps crying about people building strawmans out of him and attacking it. This guy literally just every argument so far has been a strawman. It's like, you're saying that every motivation of Israel is pure. Like, I never said that. I said look at the motivation. I didn't even attribute what the motivation is. She just said look at the motivation. Get the context of the situation. Don't just say shit. Okay? Oh, but you're saying that every motivation is pure. When? When did she say this? What are you talking about? definition of a straw man, bro, right here. Made of straws and attack straws.
Whatever. Okay. You're just breaking up. You don't get to just claim this is nonsense. You don't get to. Oh my God, you just have nothing except nonsense and interrupting me. Okay, so when Benjamin Netanyahu goes to the United Nations a couple of weeks before October 7th and has Greater Israel on a map where all of Gaza and all of the West Bank are Israel, I'm sorry, why is it that you just get to give him the assumption that the motivation...
By the way, as it was before, not even long ago, I don't know why the fuck they gave Gaza away. This is like the dumbest fucking strategic moves to do. This is, giving Gaza away is like we want to look good, but like it's bad for our people. Giving Gaza away is literally libtards in the US right now. We say the right thing, so we want to look good, but actually we do the bad things. It's like we say all of these like, oh yeah, we support trans rights, whatever, right? No, not trans rights. Like, let's say, oh, what's a more accurate example of this, right? We support women, we support trans rights, but this is the right thing to say, but then we are okay with trans rights inside of women's sports, right? It's just that trans rights is just more right to say at that point. That would be a good enough analogy.
Here wasn't to destroy Gaza, ethnically cleanse it, and annex it, as they're openly talking about doing right now. Now, I'm sure there's some people in Israel who don't have those motivations. I'm sure there are some people in Hamas who maybe just wanted to have a two-state solution. But still, when the overwhelming motivations of the leader...
Yeah, I'm sure there's like people in Hamas who just want this two-state solution, while their doctrine is death to Israel. Yeah, they just want two-state solution. They signed up to Hamas because they want two-state solution, not because they believe in death to Israel, literally written into like fucking #1 objective.
Leadership are this impure. I don't think you get to say, oh, there's a major difference because one side's motivation is purely just to get the bad guys.
Okay, let's just pivot. Hang on a second. I want to pivot to Iran because, Dave, you on 22nd of June, and I've obviously
this will be a separate video, I guess, about Iran. This is already like fucking hour. Holy shit, man. I've still yet to hear like a good argument by Dave Smith